Happy
Hello.
spring.
Happy spring. I'm excited for
Uh,
this one.
I'm excited for this one too. It like already smells like
Yep.
fresh deliciousness. Got
Yep.
some Meyer lemon zest just like filling the air
Uh-huh.
with
Yeah, between the lemon and the
aliveness.
lavender. And I guess let me tell
Oh,
everybody what we're making this week. We are
yes.
making a Meyer Lemon Tart with a lavender cornmeal crust. So
Mm.
this is adapted from a Martha Stewart recipe. She does a sage cornmeal crust, but I really
Ooh,
love lavender. And
yes.
I thought for spring, it would be absolutely perfect. So
Oh, I'm excited.
it's a little more involved than some of the other stuff we've done, but it's not difficult. So we're
Okay.
gonna actually make the crust first. So we have our food processor.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna add 2¼ cups of AP flour, all-purpose flour.
Okay. Going in.
And then we've got 3/4 cup of coarse yellow or white cornmeal.
Yum.
Yep. And then we got 3 tablespoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. The original recipe called for 1½ teaspoons, and I always find that's a little much. So,
Salt in. Okay.
and then 1 teaspoon of lavender. Mm.
Very calming all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, and then a half teaspoon of lemon zest to bring a little bit of the lemon into the crust itself. All
Okay.
right, so now what
So
we're gonna do, we're
everything's
gonna
in.
pulse it a few
Okay.
times.
So lid on and pulse.
Really, we just want to make sure everything's combined. So I don't want to see any clumps of like lavender mostly.
Okay.
And I think we're good.
That's it?
Easy. That's it.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh,
Now
easy.
we add the
Okay.
butter though.
Okay.
Now we add the butter. Mine just
So
came out
this
of the freezer,
is
so
3/4 of a cup of butter.
yep. Ah,
Okay.
mine kind of came together a little bit in the freezer. Whoops there.
And you
So we
want
do
it
want
to
to
be cold.
use yes.
I just took the lid off to put that in there, and that orange and that lavender. It's not orange, Meyer lemon, but it
Lemon.
has a very
Yep.
orange like
Yeah, so talk to me. What were your first
vein
impressions
to
about
it.
the Meyer lemon?
I don't buy Meyer lemon typically, and it's giving me a vein of orange, very like almost herbaceous as well. I
Yeah,
don't know. It
I find it a
has
little
like,
floral.
yeah,
There's like a
floral.
floor. Yep.
Oh, but
So
it
it's not as
smells
acidic as regular lemons.
amazing.
So it's a little
Okay.
easier on the palate. And I like the way that the Meyer lemon partners with the lavender. So, and
Oh
people, if you
yeah.
can't find Meyer lemons, because sometimes it is difficult to find them, just use regular, is not that big a deal. But there is a
Love it.
difference between the two.
Oh,
All
I'm
right.
so
So once we add
excited
the butter
because
in, we're just going to pulse.
yes. Pulse again.
Yep. And I always cover my hand at the top because inevitably some of the flour kind of pops out. There we go. It's starting to kind of break down.
So what are we looking for?
So we're really just looking for coarse meal.
Okay.
So almost think of the cornmeal. And we don't want any big like clusters necessarily of the butter. So I'm gonna
Okay.
kind of look and see. Actually like the texture of this. How's yours looking?
Okay. I think mine looks like
We just don't really want any giant clumps of butter
no,
necessarily.
there's no clumps. It definitely looks like sand
Perfect. Then
like.
yep, we're
Okay.
good.
Okay.
So now what we have is 3 egg yolks, 3 large egg yolks, and we're going to add 5 tablespoons of ice cold water.
Five
So we're going to,
tablespoons. One.
yeah, and we're going to whisk this together. Now, I'm not actually using like a whisk. I'm just using a fork for this because it's not that much.
All right. Whisk this together.
All
Okay.
right, so
Sounds
now
good.
when we have this, so you're going to take this little piece out of the food processor because we're going to
Okay.
feed this into it. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take mine that has a pour
Smart.
spout.
That's
Yeah.
smart. Okay.
I was wanting to look all cutesy with all of my jadeite, but you know what? Let's be practical.
Let's be real.
Let's be practical.
All
All
right.
right, so what we're going to do is this time we're not going to pulse it, we're going to turn it on.
Okay.
And we're going to
Gotcha.
pour this into the tube.
Okay.
Like a constant stream. It's because it's all going to mix together. But what we don't want to do is overdo it. So basically, as soon as the dough comes together, we're good. So it's not going to take
Okay.
long.
Sounds
So
good.
turn it on and pour.
Okay.
And I'm just doing it in kind of a slow stream. And then I'm just going to pulse it a couple times. I still see, so what I'm looking at, I still see a little bit of egg like that I can see.
Ooh, I have to. My food processor, I'm noticing, is a lot smaller than yours. So it's a lot more full.
Oh, Gotcha.
So I have to kind of feed it in from the outside for this to incorporate properly. Oh boy. Eeh.
Okay.
Oh, I cannot get over the smell of this though. It just smells
I know.
so
I
springy,
know.
so delicious.
I love it.
Okay. I'm gonna pulse. Mhm. Okay.
When you are ready, put some
Yes.
cling wrap down. Now, I know you have parchment,
Yes.
which is totally fine. So you're going to also put it into like a little Ziploc container just so it doesn't dry out. And so what we're going to do is I am just going to take this out, put it onto the wrap, and I'm going to bring it together and shape it into a disc. So this technically actually makes like 2 portions worth. Now in the recipe, it calls for a 9-inch tart shell, and I have a 10-inch, so I end up needing about 3/4 of this, I would say. So in the recipe, it does say to divide it. I am not going to because I don't need to. And but we want to do it into kind of a flat disc because what we're going to do now is fully cover it. Oops. And we're going to put it into the refrigerator. So I'm making mine a little flatter just so it kind of chills a little quicker. But
So
it's
is
come
yours
together really
kind of,
nice.
I was just gonna ask, does mine look still like crumbly?
It's
Is
gonna
there
look
something I
crumbly, and
can
that's
do?
okay.
Okay.
So
So even if
if
it's
you
like
want
loose?
to, if it's way too loose, like mine came together pretty good. If yours is way too loose, what I actually like to do is literally just put a little water on my hands, just make
Okay.
it slightly damp. And that's usually enough liquid.
Okay. Let's see. Oh boy. So
And I always like to wrap mine
can,
twice too, just
yeah.
because.
Can you see what's happening here with this?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a little bit more water. So what you might do then is just like get like a tablespoon or so of water and just sprinkle it on top.
Sprinkle it. Okay. So it can penetrate a little further than
Yup.
the top. Oh boy.
How's it looking?
Maybe it needs a little bit more water. Okay.
If you think you need much more than that, you might want to do one more egg yolk.
Oh, okay. Because it
Yeah,
binds
with
it
a
a
little
little
bit
bit
of
more.
water. Yeah.
Now, is that something that I'd have to toss back in the food processor to incorporate?
Yeah.
I think I might just do that. This seems like it's
Yeah, that's a little crumbly
like a sandcastle that needs,
because mine
yeah,
like came together
definitely.
pretty. That's okay.
Doesn't look like that. Okay. See, trial and error, guys. Let's see.
Exactly.
Let's
Now I
put
will
this
say
back
Danielle
in.
is using some gorgeous eggs that are fresh eggs, and some of them are a little smaller. So I used like standardized large eggs just because that's what I had. So that can make a difference.
That could be it. Those little chickies.
Yep.
They worked hard, but their eggs are cute and petite and not extra
Man, I can't
large.
wait though, because here in Colorado we do not have it's not farmers market season yet, so I can't wait to get fresh eggs.
We are lucky because somebody that works with Jeremy, his family has a farm and they do fresh eggs, and
Oh,
so they sell them
cool.
to the crew for $5 a dozen, which is a good deal for like good
Ooh,
eggs.
right?
So, but they're really cute, and I'll show you all shapes and sizes. So that does make a difference in what you're working with.
Yep. And I'm
A
gonna go
little
ahead and put
fortunate
my
here.
disc in the fridge just to get it to start chilling. So everybody, this is what mine looked like. Again, hers will look like that here in just a moment.
Okay,
One
so
other
let's see
thing
these
I always learn
eggs.
too is clean as you go, everybody.
So here's an example of the different shapes and
Yes.
sizes.
Yep. And
Cutie
it makes
little
a
egg
difference.
and this egg. So I think I'm gonna do the Mama Jamba.
Yeah, do it.
Save this little cutie. We're gonna separate that. So let me get egg white bowl over here. There we go. All right.
And I'm gonna show everybody real quick what the tart shell looks like. So you can get these just about anywhere. So it's nice and thin. Like I said, the recipe calls for a 9-inch. I only have a 10-inch, so I end up using about 3/4 of the crust. With the remaining crust, you could definitely use those for like little mini tartlets, because you could do a tartlet version of this too.
Oh, that would be cute.
Oh yeah, I love tartlets. I went through a phase one time where all I made was tartlets as desserts for people.
Oh,
it was just easy.
That's a cute phase.
Yep. Tartlets. It's also a fun word to say.
Tartlet.
Tartlet.
Oh yeah, that feels a lot better.
Sweet.
Let's see.
Yay.
Oh.
That looks good.
This looks better, right? Oh yeah, that feels better.
It feels better.
Nice.
Yep. Well,
so things aren't working out for you. Like, do what you need to do to make it work, right?
Yep. Well, and that's the thing too, as you learn, you start to get like, how should the dough feel? It takes practice. And that's why we help each other. That's why it's nice to have a trained chef as your best friend.
That is a true story. Does not hurt. Always have a doctor or nurse in the family and
a lawyer.
Oh,
lawyer, doctor, chef. Lawyer, doctor, chef. Yep.
Cover all your bases.
It basically.
Okay.
So. Oh yeah, I can already tell it looks better. Yep.
It's looking way better. Okay, so I just need to get this into this form.
Yeah, and we don't want to overwork it. So what we're going to do is refrigerate it for about half an hour, and then we're going to actually like roll it out, fit it into our tart shell. And so let me mention too for everybody. So we're doing the crust first. And then what we're going to do, I've already meased out, and mise en place means to put everything in its place. So I've already measured out all of my ingredients for the custard itself. But we're going to do that last because actually this crust gets fully baked. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook the filling basically and put it into the tart shell, and then we'll refrigerate it for at least 4 hours up to overnight.
What an adventure.
Yay. Alrighty, so we'll be back in 30 minutes.
Yay.
So we're back. We have our disc of crust. Now, because this is a cornmeal crust, it's a little crumbly. So we're not going to worry about that too much. I've got my pie, or my tart shell, I should say, and I've got a little bit of flour. So what we're going to do, and I always like to do it from a little bit of a height because it just distributes a little bit more evenly. So we got some just plain old flour. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my crust on. I'm going to eat it first, though. Oh, yeah.
Delicious.
Yep. So again, it's a little crumbly, but it's going to come together. And also, once it gets like in the tart shell, we can mold it with our fingers. Because after this, we're going to refrigerate it for about an hour. So the reason why is we want to make sure that the gluten relaxes. Because when we bake this thing, which we're going to bake it at 375 for about 25 minutes, we're going to prick it with a fork before we do that. But we want to make sure that it doesn't shrink too much.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then I always like to put a little flour on my rolling pin as well.
Okay.
Okay. And then we just start rolling it out. So you want to roll it out to about, well, depending on the size, like if you do have a 9-inch tart shell, then you want to do it about 10 inches. I'm honestly just going to kind of put my tart over this, and I want it to hang over a little bit.
Okay.
I do it more by eye than measurement. And this is why I'm not a pastry chef, people. And again, if you need to, you can put a little water on your fingers if you need to kind of mold it together a little bit. I'm finding as long as I start pinching it with my hands, it moves together pretty well. So,
okay, I think I need a little bit of water. Let's see. Okay.
The crust tastes good though.
Does it? It smells good.
It does. And for the most part, I'm really looking to make sure like the center is more put together, because the sides, again, we can kind of mold it with our hands, but I want to be able to get it in there kind of flat.
And thickness, what are we going for? How does it matter?
It doesn't completely matter. So like I said, this actually makes two. I'm going to go ahead and roll it out. And I should have actually mentioned, you might want to, how many inches is your pan? Did you ever measure it? And if not, that's okay.
No, but in comparison
Then go ahead. Yep. Go ahead and use the whole, you can measure, I mean, whoops, not measure the whole thing out. You can roll the whole thing out, and then whatever overlap you can always put back in the fridge to use for something else.
Okay. I have a feeling I'm going to be using this whole thing for this one, but
Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah, you get a good workout with this, that's for sure.
honestly.
And I had some like bigger pieces that were kind of crumbing off, so I took them off for now, and I'll use it to
Okay.
kind of piece together.
That's a good idea. These pieces.
But you do want to try to make sure that it's all about the same depth, like the quarter
Depth.
inch. Yeah, you want to make sure it's even, I'll put it that way.
Okay.
And now normally my trick, which will not work with this crust, when it comes to pie crust, you can like roll it on and then roll it like that.
Yes.
This one doesn't really work like that. A little too crummy.
Okay.
So I'm trying to look for my dough scraper. I should have had one out. There it is. So just to get under it a little bit. And if it breaks apart, don't worry about it. Okay, mine's not really working. I have made this like 20 times. All right, people, so this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take large swaths of this and I'm gonna put it in.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna mold it by hand.
Okay.
I don't remember it being this ornery before, but hey, whatever. And if you're a pastry chef watching this, I apologize. This is what I say, I'm not a pastry chef.
All right, let's see. Oh, if I can get under this.
So basically, I'm just going to put one layer at the very bottom. I'll worry about the edges in a second.
That lavender does smell really good, though.
It is. I love lavender. And the warmth of our hands will make it like, it'll melt the butter a little bit, but we're going to refrigerate it again. So it'll help us to kind of make sure it's all actually put together and no big like spaces or breaks in the dough itself.
Gotcha.
Because we don't want the custard to leak out of it.
I have to say, this is my first tart ever. I'm very excited about this. Never tarted before.
Once you tart, you'll never go back.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's actually easier.
Yeah, just 2 little pieces.
Yep. So I've got my bottom looking pretty much the way I like it. All right, so then what I'm going to do is just take little bits and I'm going to put it on the sides. And you want to make sure, because it could shrink a little bit. This is why, again, we rest the dough in between before we actually cook it. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the little pieces on the side, but you want to make sure, especially like where the side and the bottom meet, you want to make sure to really, like I'm using my knuckle to make sure it's all put together and there's no gaps.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I see what you're saying.
And then also I can use my bench scraper to kind of make pieces that make it a little easier and quicker.
Ah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and put dough around the whole edge, and then I'll just, with my fingers, push it together. But this is looking the way it normally does.
I'm finding that these crumbs, I'm just throwing kind of like a handful of crumbs in and then just pushing it, and it's working out really well. It's fine.
Yeah. And this is about the only time I've really done like a cornmeal crust, to be honest.
Okay.
Because normally I just use pie crust. So it is a little bit different texture-wise, I think. But it tastes really good in the long run.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. All these little pieces.
Ooh, almost done. And then what we're going to do once we have this all together, we're going to refrigerate it for at least an hour, because again, we want to
Okay.
make sure that the gluten relaxes. And when it comes to the sides too, you just want to make sure it's pretty even thickness all around. You might have to put little pieces here and there. I've always had to do that, so.
Yeah, let's take some from this side, add it to this side.
Exactly. That's actually kind of why I like tarts a little bit better, because you can work with it. And because
Yeah.
these edges are fluted, it kind of does the work for me.
Yeah, you have a nice one. This is one that I found at my local thrift store.
Hey, you can find a lot of good
Spring
equipment
form
there.
pan.
Nice. I've had this thing so long, I couldn't even tell you where I got it.
Well, if this is my new thing, I'll invest in a real tart pan.
There you go. Chart it up.
Let's see how this one goes, huh? Let's
Yeah.
see.
Well, and the nice thing too about this tart shell is that the bottom actually comes out, if you want to like present it like that.
Nice.
Which is nice. And it makes it easier to cut too. Okay, I think I am good.
All right. Same.
How are you looking?
I think pretty good.
Cool. All righty. So when we're ready, we're going to refrigerate this for at least an hour. And then we're going to take it out and we're going to bake it. So we will see everybody then.
Okay. See you in an hour.
Yay!
Do you have your fork?
I've got my fork.
Yes. All right. So we have our crusts. They were in the refrigerator for an hour. And now what we are going to do is we are going to bake it for about 25 minutes at 375 degrees. So the reason why we have a fork is because we want to poke holes, basically prick the bottom of the crust. Because as it cooks, we want the steam to have somewhere to go so that the crust itself doesn't bubble up and become all weird. So that is why we do that.
Oh, gotcha.
And there's no real right or wrong amount necessarily, but because mine's like a 10-inch, I'm giving it, you just want to make sure it's kind of even all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the easy part.
Good.
Because then what we're going to do is we'll bake it, like I said, for 25 minutes at 375 degrees. And while it's cooling, we're going to end up making the custard.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yep.
So 375.
Yep. 25 minutes.
Pop that baby in. We'll see you in 25.
Yep. Sounds good. Welcome back.
Hello. Welcome back. It's been, how long would you say we had that crust in the oven for?
I did it for 26 minutes and it came out, it was nice brown around the edges. So, and there weren't any bubbles because of the prickings of the knife. I would show it on camera, but it is hot still. So,
Piping
letting
hot.
it cool. You can see Danielle's there on camera. How'd yours turn out?
You know, it looks okay. Yay. Surprisingly good. It's got like a slight browning along the very edge. It's pulled away from the pan a little bit.
Nice.
Smells amazing.
Yay.
So,
all right, now we're going to make our Meyer lemon curd.
I'm so excited. This is the part I'm pumped about.
Oh yeah, so the first thing we're going to do is we have a half teaspoon of gelatin. And what we're going to do is sprinkle it over a tablespoon of water. So this is called blooming. And what that'll do, I'll mix it with a spoon just a little bit. What we're going to do is that water basically is going to, well, it's going to gel up. And we will use that to make the curd stand up a little bit better because we're done with baking. So we're actually going to cook the curd over the heat, over a water bath, basically, because we want a gentle heat with our egg yolks and everything.
Great, cool.
We'll let that bloom. And then we have 6 large egg yolks. So I'm going to go ahead and put those into my metal bowl. And for the bowls over the heat, I usually use metal. You can use whatever you have on hand, glass, etc. And then we have 1 cup of sugar and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So we're going to add that in. And we're going to whisk it together. It'll be kind of thick, but what we're going to do is we're going to add in the lemon juice here in just a moment. But you want to get the egg yolks, sugar, and salt combined first. And it's going to look kind of like a paste.
I'm so excited for this.
All right, and then I'm going to gradually whisk in. And there's actually there is a little trick. So when you have like a towel, we used to do this in culinary school. you kind of make it into like a little ring, you can
Okay.
actually put your bowl in there and it holds it a little bit better.
Oh,
Because
love
I'm going to be
it.
whisking with one hand. I don't have 3 hands. So this
Yes,
makes a little bit.
that's great.
Yes. So I'm going
Oh,
to go
so
ahead and
much
add
better.
in gradually the lemon juice. You can add a
Okay.
little bit in, put the bowl down, and then kind of get it started. I love the smell of the lemon juice. Oh, so good.
I know this Meyer lemon. I just can't get over how orangey it smells and floral, like we were saying. I didn't try it by itself. Hold on one second.
Well, you'll get a lot of good flavor from it
Mm,
in the curd itself.
that is yummy.
And so once we have added in all of the lemon juice, now we are going to go ahead and place our mixture. And I want to get it pretty good and whisked. So in the original Martha recipe, she had us whisk the entire time. At this point, I actually like to switch over to a spatula for a couple different reasons. First of all, some people might whisk a little too hard and the curd will turn a little gray from the metal on metal. So you can always use a silicone. But what I like about this is the bubbles. The whisking adds in a lot of air, which is fine, but the top of it then ends up having a lot of bubbles.
Gotcha.
Yes. So we're going to cook this and we're going to constantly stir it because we don't want anything to scorch. So I've got the water on just like, I've got about an inch worth of water in my pan. I've got it simmering. And you're gonna wanna keep a thermometer handy. And we're going to cook this until it's thickened and about 160 degrees. So I'm gonna wait a little while to even temp it because honestly, it takes a few minutes to get there. You're gonna start to notice it thickening up though. And also make sure to scrape down the sides as you go because you want all the sugar that's on the sides to melt and cook it.
So you call this a double boiler?
Yes, yeah.
Or bain marie?
Yes. That's the fancy term.
That just came out of the deep, darkest crevasses of my my brain from watching like a lot of Food Network as a teenager. It's not a term I use on a regular basis.
Well, so we want more of a simmer than a boil.
Okay.
Like a constant simmer. So you do kind of have to sometimes like mess around a little bit, and everybody's stovetop's a little different.
Okay, I see some action now down there, so that's good. So the reason that we keep it moving is because we don't want it to curdle.
Well, we don't really want it to scorch or curdle. Now, if anything, if you end up seeing some little pieces of yolk as this cooks, what you can do is as you're pouring it into the tart shell, just get a strainer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That'll just make sure that there's nothing extra chewy in there.
And I usually like to do that anyways, just in case.
Oh, that's good to know. Get a little, when I'm done with this, I'll get the, I'm afraid to walk away from it. I'll get the strainer after I'm done. I love the color of it. Oh my gosh.
Right. Nice bright yellow. Yeah, this is just such an easy, like springtime dessert. And then, once you kind of like, as you feel it, as it starts to warm up, then we'll start temping it, but mine's not quite there yet.
Okay, I'm at the lukewarm stage now. I love this. This is something completely new for me. Like, yay! Tart, doing the double boiler thing. This is exciting.
Yeah, it's fun learning new things. That was one thing I always liked about culinary school. Because I went not completely blind, but it's not like I was a gourmet chef. So it was really fun just learning from really talented people.
Yeah, that's so awesome that you did that. And now I'm learning from you, so vicariously I get to live through your experience.
Exactly. Mine's
okay,
nice.
I'm gonna temp mine because I feel like it's getting.
Now we always want to be careful too. We don't want to hit the metal. So what I usually
Okay.
like to do, I forgot, is kind of tilt it,
Tilt it. Yeah.
take it just kind of off a little bit, tilt it.
All right. I'm at 140. Not quite there yet.
Mine's still climbing, still climbing, still climbing. Yeah, I'm right about 140. So we're almost there.
Okay.
I just licked the thermometer. Really
Is it
good.
delicious? That is a tasty thermometer.
It really was. And then what we'll do next, once it hits 160, we will be whisking in the gelatin mixture. And with that, I
Okay.
go back to whisking, but I'm going to do it fairly gently.
Okay. That is very interesting about it turning gray.
Yeah, like I
Metal.
said, it was just that mayonnaise, that's why silicone whisks can be really nice. And I'm not saying that this would necessarily turn gray. It's just ever since that happened to my friend in culinary school when he was making homemade mayonnaise and it turned gray from metal on metal, I just have always been super cautious.
Yeah. That's not an appetizing color per
It's
se.
not tasted good. We all tasted it. It was quite hilarious.
You're like, I have to try this gray mayonnaise.
I mean, might as well.
All right, I'm at 153. Almost there.
Ooh. Yeah, it should just need another minute or so. And we want to make sure that we're bringing down the sides to make sure it's all incorporated. Don't want anything to scorch. Yeah, I can see I have like a couple little bits of yolk. So we'll definitely strain it as we pour it in.
Okay, sounds good.
Alrighty. What temper
All
are you
right,
at?
let's see. We are at, thinking about it, 157, 158, 159, 160.5.
Yay! All right, so we're gonna add in the gelatin now.
Okay.
And like I said, with that, I am gonna whisk it in. And it might come off
Okay.
in like a little clump at first, but it won't be a clump for too long. Looking good. Alrighty, I'm not seeing any clumps of gelatin. So now what we can do is remove it from the heat.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put it back on the towel right here. Also because there will be condensation at the bottom of this. So you do want to be cautious and don't burn yourself. And I'm gonna go back to using my spatula because what we're gonna do is drop in a little bit of the butter at a time.
Okay. I'm using my
Like a tablespoon,
scissors.
like a couple tablespoons.
Okay.
And we got a half cup of butter. So we're just gonna gradually in thirds or quarters add it in. And you'll notice that it will start to thicken. And usually I like to try and make sure that the couple tablespoons are basically melted before I put in the next.
Gotcha.
Making sure to scrape the sides as well. This is what gives us a velvety mouthfeel with it. Mine's starting to thicken up a little bit too, which is good.
Yeah.
So did you bake growing up?
Not really. We made oatmeal cookies
Ooh, yummy.
and apple pies. We made apple pies, but no, not really. Were you a big baking family?
Yeah, my grandma, my mom's mom, she was a great baker. Oh my gosh, she made the best homemade banana pudding that is known to
Oh,
man.
I love
And
banana
she also
pudding.
would make she had my great grandmother's recipes for homemade yellow cake, homemade
Oh,
caramel
yeah.
frosting. That is very technical, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my
But it's
gosh.
so delicious.
So
All right, so I went ahead and
yummy.
added the rest of my butter.
Okay, same.
Give it another minute. Now, if you notice it's taking a little while for it to melt, you can always put it over here for just another 30 seconds or so.
Gotcha. I think
It's
it's doing
almost
okay.
gone though.
Yeah, it's doing okay.
Ooh.
I had to really look at it for a second to see.
All right, so mine, I have just a little bit of chunks, but what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna put this over an ice bath. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that put together while that last little bit of butter melts.
Okay, me too. 1 second.
This will help it to start cooling, especially once the butter is all melted. And we're just gonna put it in the ice bath for about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Butter is all good and melted. So this will start the cooling process, basically. Because then what we'll do is refrigerate it, and it should be refrigerated for up to 4 hours, if not overnight. I usually try to let it sit overnight.
Oh, okay.
And also, actually, the original recipe called for a 1/4 teaspoon of gelatin. I found after the first couple times of making it, if I added a 1/2 a teaspoon, it just gelled a little bit better and quicker. So here we are.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep, but mine's getting nice and thick. Yay. Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, me too.
How's yours looking?
It's looking velvety.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
And you know what's really nice too, though, with like curds like this, using those fresh eggs that you had, because the color you get is just so much better.
Oh my
I'm just using
gosh, this
grocery
is
store eggs because that's what I had.
crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong, we buy grocery store eggs too, but we just
Oh yeah,
happened to have them this week.
Yep.
And they're, first of all, so cute, but so different in size as we saw earlier. And just, yeah, the yolks are so vibrant.
Yeah.
It's insane. They're like bright orange.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Pretty awesome.
All righty. So it's been a couple minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take this off of the ice. I'm gonna bring this thing, my crust, if I can use words. There we go. Take my crust over to y'all.
A strainer.
Okay. And then I'm just gonna pour. And I would do about like 1/2 or so. And then I just take my spatula and just kind of run it through. But the strainer will get all the like bits, because I do have a few little bits of egg yolk, which is not a big deal. That's why we strain it. How's yours coming along?
Well, I think my crust is going to end up being a little tall for this custard, but that's okay.
That's all good.
You live and you learn, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Extra crust never hurt anybody.
It's true.
I'm a crust girly. I'm a bread girly.
Oh God, same. Carbs in general, I would say, for me.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, I also found a lemon seed in there, so good thing we strained.
There you go. Yeah, whenever I'm doing like lemon juice for anything, I usually put it through a strainer because inevitably a seed gets through my citrus. Okay.
I want to get all these bits in there. Let's see.
Alrighty, I'm gonna set the strainer aside. I only have a little bit left and I'm not seeing any clumps. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in here. Alrighty.
Yeah, this looks great.
And it tastes good too.
Yummy.
All right. So now what we're gonna do, put it in the refrigerator, chill for at least 4 hours.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
I know it's a tough thing when we have to wait for our dessert. But here we are.
It'll be worth it.
Exactly.
Oh,
I know, right? All right, we'll see everybody in a few hours.
okay, bye.
So we are back with our lemon tart. The curd
You're
has set
back.
overnight. And
Yep, it's the next day.
there's a couple of things that you can actually garnish this with. I've steeped like lavender in honey before, and you could do a drizzle, you could do creme fraiche.
Yum.
Also, just the simple act of putting some of the dried lavender on top makes for a pretty presentation.
That is pretty.
Gives
Oh,
it just a little bit of purple
sweet.
color.
Love it.
Yup. And so I already popped my tart out of the shell, and I've got a knife, and we are going to cut it and taste it. Yay!
Oh, gorge. Look at that action. Like,
Yeah.
slid right off. Oh, I'm excited. Okay.
I'm gonna cut a little sliver for myself.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Here we go.
Yay!
I'm gonna get a little fork and just give it a whirl. You ready?
Yep, bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa,
Mm-hmm.
that is delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Oh, that custard.
I know. Lemon curd is amazing.
It is amazing.
Oh yeah. One more bite just to make sure it's not poisonous.
Right?
Nope, we're good. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a winner.
Mm-hmm.